Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm asking the question, was this tank not good enough? Now, let me clarify my point. The Object 268 was the original Tier 10 Soviet tank destroyer, and for a while it was very renowned for having possibly the most broken high explosive anti-tank rounds in the game. Back in the day, this vehicle had 450 millimeters of gold penetration, which allowed it to do some just ridiculous things, like an IS-7's turret. You think the IS-7's turret is very good, right? Didn't really hold up too well, even frontally, against 450 millimeters of penetration. Wargaming decided to nerf that, and quite rightly so. It was just outrageous to have literally completely pay-to-win rounds inside the game like that. They nerfed it down to a paltry 395, and while it didn't really destroy the vehicle, nothing has ever really happened to this tank. It's pretty much just stayed as it is all the way through the years, right up until it got some firm competition. I guess Wargaming liked the fact that they had a Tier 10 Soviet tank destroyer, but I don't think that they liked the fact that it wasn't immensely popular, and there were all of these other tank destroyers going into the game that had all of these different features. And so, lo and behold, Wargaming decided to create the Object 268 version 4. Now, that vehicle, for a while, completely destroyed the matchmaker. It was outrageously overpowered. It was pretty much a tank destroyer that you could play like a heavy tank. Absolutely incredible frontal armor, but still having not exactly a tier 10 tank destroyer gun, but still a very decent tank destroyer gun. Now, the 268 is way better than the 268 version 4 with regards to its ammunition. This vehicle has 750 alpha damage, whereas the version 4 has 650. It also gets really good high explosive rounds that are capable of doing 1,100 damage compared to, I think, about the 900 that you'll get on the 268 version 4. These high explosive rounds with their 90 millimeters of penetration are also absolutely devastating. However, here's the thing. It was the 268 version 4's armor, it was the 268 version 4's speed, and the fact that while it didn't have a gun that was quite as good as the 268, it had still a very, very, very strong gun for a tank destroyer that just made, not for a tank destroyer, for a tank destroyer that likes to play like a heavy tank, that just made the vehicle outrageous. And for a while it was breaking tier 10 matchmaking. You could probably achieve about a 75% win ratio solo if you're a very, very good player. That should never be the case. The 268 version 4 was significantly nerfed, but did it really do enough to the vehicle? Now back to my point. Was it ever truly necessary to have the 268 version 4 in the game? Because really, you could have played the 268 not really in that kind of the new heavy tank role that the 268 version 4 could play, but you could still do a darn good job of assaulting. And this vehicle, as we can see, bouncing 780 damage, albeit from regular rounds of tier 8 and tier 9 tanks. It can take a hit, unlike that T110E4 could. So at this point of the game, we need a hero, boys and girls. We are trying to fend off a flank from being broken on the north, but unfortunately for us, there are now 14 seconds left on the cap circle. We are going to need a hero, and step up Klapsig in his Object 277, who's going to go around the corner, take the shot from the IS-3, and with 3 seconds left on this game, put us back in it to win it. Thank you so much to you, Klapsig. Congratulations on being the hero of this battle. Well, that's if we're actually going to be able to come back from this situation, because it's still looking pretty ugly. We're down a tank, we're down a huge amount of hit points, well, at least my team is. I'm still lucky enough to have all of mine, but that's because the 268 in this kind of a scenario against tier 9s and tier 8s is actually pretty darn nice. And look at the speed of this vehicle as well. It's a decent frontal assault tank destroyer if you decide to play it like one. But oh dear, that's an FV4005. Well, I'll shoot him through the buildings. I'm hoping he's loading a high explosive squash head round, which will not be able to shoot through the rubble. But oh dear, if he's got that high explosive squash head round now, we're not going to be very well at all, are we? Ooh! Luckily for me, we angle our armor a little bit, and that confuses the FV4005 enough that he actually bounces an armor-piercing round off our tank. Now, this was actually an interesting moment. You see how I caught the front of my track on the 4005 to increase my traverse speed? That allowed me to actually speed up my vehicle's ability to be able to get round and bear my gun upon the FV4005 and shut him down, putting us back into this game. Now, if I'd known the FV4005 was there, I probably would have loaded one of the awesome high explosive rounds of this tank. With 1,100 alpha damage, we would have been able to absolutely devastate his hit points for his 14 millimeters of turret armor. Do you notice how we didn't actually see the ISU-152K there until we activated our binoculars? That shows you how good the camera rating is on a stationary Soviet tank destroyer. And more importantly, why I like to use binoculars on my TDs to really pump up that hyperview range when you get to sit still. So our 277 hero is down, but luckily for us, he's managed to keep us in this game to enable me to finish off the 4005 and now turn my attention to the ISU-152. Now, we didn't manage to hit him with our first shell, and this is quite a tricky situation. What do? Do I sit still and allow the GW Tiger to shoot me? Or maybe I should just pop up on this ridgeline and try and hope that the Super Conqueror is going to get into position. I'm trying to bait the shot from the ISU-152K here, just trying to expose only the absolute smallest amount of my tank possible, but unfortunately, look at this. I'll pause the replay for just a second. Yeah, okay, buddy. It looks like you caught me right on the tip, the apex of that front plate. Good shot, I guess. It means that I take 896 damage from the ISU-152K. Mate, could you have rolled any higher? I'm not really too sure about that, as we clearly saw the other day from my quick maths video. But that's an incredibly high roll for somebody who does 750 alpha damage. It's actually coming back to me now that this tank back in the day used to have 850 alpha on its standard rounds, like all of the 150mm caliber guns. Boom, baby, there goes the artillery. We didn't have to think twice about that. Guess I could have fired a high explosive round there rather than a heat, but who knows? Maybe the Pantera or the 277 would have been able to make their way back. So I decide to become unexpected friends with I-119 Farm. Well, mate, I'm very happy for you to farm in this game because we've still got our work cut out for us. We don't know exactly how many hit points the Object 277 on the enemy team and the Pantera are, but considering that they're on 4 kills, these are some significant threats. So my question is, in this video, did we ever really need the Object 268 version 4? You can kind of play this thing like an assault TD. Was it really a good idea to have to blur the lines between a tank destroyer and a heavy tank like Wargaming tried to do with the 268 version 4? Luckily, they did actually nerf that vehicle, and while I still think it's incredibly powerful, and I would probably say it's the best tier 10 TD from a point of being able to influence the battle because you can play the heavy tank role in a tank destroyer. And just like I said in my GSAW 1008 review the other day, if you can take your tank destroyers and play them like heavy tanks, then you're going to be truly influential in the battle. Because usually, players who get average win ratios or below average win ratios in the tank destroyers are those that don't, I'm not saying to be reckless, but don't take the risks to be able to advance the flank and sometimes take it upon themselves to realize, hey, it's a tank destroyer. Why don't you go out and destroy tanks? It's not a tank sniper all the time, right? So unfortunately for us, we've found out that the Pantera is healthy. The 277 takes a hit and the Pantera valiantly goes down. So the Lorraine goes down. Now, I was hoping that the Lorraine was going to try and scout out and sweep back to me because I couldn't advance from my position until I knew that this whole area was clear. However, now knowing that this area is okay, I can manage to set up my position here. The Super Conqueror is actually asking me to fall back, but I'm going to hopefully let him know that I will have a line of fire along here because I expect that the 277 is going to have to make his way along here and snake towards the Super Conqueror, but I can't quite figure out whether the Pantera is going to join him. I let him know that I'm going to snipe. The 277 is there and the actual Pantera is flanking me. Okay, he's probably going to spot me. This is my last chance to be able to shoot him. I can't get any further back behind the bush and I've got to try and get off this ridgeline, otherwise the 277 is going to hit me. Now the Pantera, an auto-loading Italian medium tank, what do I do? So let me pause this for a second. This is very important. I know he wants to get my side. I want to keep him in front of my tank. So what I'm going to do here is overturn this way. And by overturning towards my right, if the Pantera wants to try and keep going along the flat, which will be his fastest route to be able to get my side, then I'm going to have the highest opportunity to be able to bear my gun round and give myself the ultimate opportunity, the longest possible time to be able to reload. So what do you think that me doing this is going to cause the Pantera to do? That's right, he's going to turn in and go up the slope, but now he slows down, which should give me enough time to be able to find him, and oh, disaster. I missed the shot. I knew that that was my last opportunity to be able to shoot the Pantera, and unfortunately, looks like he was a pretty darn good player with his approach where he went up the slope And then he juked back again. It just didn't quite give me enough time with my gun depression to be able to shut him down. I just want to do a quick rewind on that shell to see just how close it goes above his tank. That one must have been a close call, right? Missing the oh, it was just over his hull. Oh my word. There we go. We've got about, I don't know, half a foot, few inches over the top of his hull. That's an unfortunate one, but it was a clean miss by me. I felt that that was my only opportunity to shoot him because I knew that he'd managed to get my side. The Pantera is quite a nimble tank because of that. Luckily for me, he goes up on the ridgeline and my Super Conqueror friend shuts him down, but now that means that the Object 277 is going to have more than enough time to be able to close the distance and shoot my Super Conqueror down, meaning that now we have a Badger on our team against an Object 277 who has 600 hit points remaining. This is going to be a bit of an ugly situation. Badger is a great vehicle, but is it going to be able to handle this scenario against the turreted vehicle? Well, that's an actual amazing tracking shot there by the Badger. The Badger locks him in place on the ridgeline, and the artillery also hits him while the 277 was no longer spotted. But GG, well played to the Badger, the Tiger, and also the Super Conqueror on my team for coming through this victory. But again, Clapsig was the real hero that enabled this to happen. Clapsig, thank you for being so valiant to push in to do what needed to get done to interrupt the cap circle. I would have loved to have been able to do it myself, but I did have that fairly awkward situation earlier on trying to hold back the northern flank. So an ace tanker here for the 268, although this was a very low ace tanker. 1071 experience is enough to get an ace in this vehicle. I don't understand why this vehicle's played so poorly. We get a high caliber medal, but we do just break even on credits after we resupply lots of premium consumables and even, I believe, a concealment directive on this vehicle for 20,000 credits. And it still baffles me to this day why the 268 is not played more inside the game. It's a fantastic mix of armor with an accurate gun for such a high caliber gun with 0.33 dispersion at 100 meters. Its aim time and its dispersion values aren't even too bad, and it has amongst the highest penetration in the game on its standard rounds at 303 and 395 heat, and those incredible high explosive rounds. It really does absolutely destroy the 268 version 4 with the kind of ammunition. But I guess when it comes down to it, it's the fact that the 268 version 4 is just so darn hard to be able to penetrate frontally for pretty much everything, whereas the 268, well, it's not even in the same league with regards to its armor loadout. But if you decide to play this vehicle, make sure you try and use as much of that gun depression as you can. Just try and keep wiggling your vehicle, and you'll be surprised at how often you can pull off that miracle bounce, and you still have that S-tier gun, unlike the 268 version 4, which definitely has a C-grade gun for a tier 10 TD. So to answer the question posed in this video, I personally think that the Object 268 was good enough all along, and I don't think that we really needed to have a 268 version 4. I don't like the fact that everything's getting faster inside the game. I don't like the fact that everything's getting such good armor that you often have to load gold to be able to penetrate it. And one could argue that the Object 268 version 4 is the epitome of what a lot of the older players inside the game, you know, the veterans of World of Tanks, just don't like the direction that it's going. Take up a vehicle that was well embraced by the community, but I don't think anyone would suggest was overpowered. Make it faster, give it better armor, slap a version 4 on the name, and importantly, blur the lines between those class-based roles that some people embrace so warmly and keeps them playing World of Tanks. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down, and let me know what you think about the original Object 268 in the comments down below. Do you still play this tank? Do you ever want to take it out onto the battlefield? Do you even see them out on the battlefield that much anymore? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.